Okay, so this is the Kill Shakespeare interview, live from C2E2 in Chicago for Crime Stream Magazine. Connor, Andy, two of the three creators of Kill Shakespeare Magazine.
The only ones that are important.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Clearly.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. First question, what have you done with the third creator?
Kill them.
We have fate worse than death. We've sent him to Calgary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. That is cruel.
That's why they keep the best oil drums to hide a body.
It's true. It's really true. Actually, that's really what the whole purpose of the tar sands is. Everybody thinks the Canadians are very peaceful people. Tar sands is just a giant burial ground. Everything in that's actually where the oil comes from. It's really quickly decaying corpses.
Right on. Okay.
So anyway, next time you fill up at Sunoco, you might have a little Anthony Delco in your tank.
It's gonna go pretty slow.
Oh no, he's filled with hot air. He's all energy.
Yeah.
Kill Shakespeare is an amazing book. As you guys know, we first discovered it at Bill Willingham's FablesCon in Minnesota. Please tell our Crime Spree listeners about Kill Shakespeare.
So Kill Shakespeare takes all Shakespeare's characters, puts them in the same world, and it pits them against each other on this quest to save or kill this mysterious wizard by the name of William Shakespeare. So our main character is Hamlet, and he sort of is taken from his part in the play where he's leaves Denmark, but instead of getting back like he does in the play, he ends up washed ashore in our strange land, where Richard III and Lady Macbeth send him on a quest to end all tragedy and get his father back from the dead by killing this evil wizard Shakespeare. Of course, things aren't that simple, and so as the story progresses, you find out that ultimately Hamlet's big question is to kill or not to kill.
This is clearly a very high-concept book. What led you guys to create a book like this, and what was the experience like trying to sell it to publishers? Also, we're super glad it ended up at IDW. They put out an awesome book.
I was not actually involved in this process much, besides I did the pitch package, but...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The pitch package, 5 pages that have never been seen, actually.
Yeah, they've never seen the light of the day.
I think that we're planning to make those special bonuses for one of the collected editions.
Yeah, the pitch material.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
We did pitch it to IDW. We pitched it to about 6 or 7 publishers. We ended up getting 5 of them saying they wanted to do the book. The idea actually was just kind of a brainstorm session from Anthony Delco, the other creator, and I. And he made a joke about Kill Bill was out, and what if it was a different Bill? What if it was Billy Shakespeare? And we laughed. Oh yeah, it'd be Romeo on one side and Richard on the other. And we sort of thought, that's kind of cool. And the more we thought of it, Anthony's a big Shakespeare fan. I was a theater minor in university, so that's kind of how I had my exposure to Shakespeare. We just started asking these questions like, well, what if... I loved what if comics growing up, right? I love those comics. So we started playing them, well, what if Juliet lived? What would that what if comic look like? What if Hamlet doesn't get back to Denmark? Is he bloody-minded by nature, or could he be something different? What if Richard III and Lady Macbeth wanted the same thing? Who's going to outmaneuver the other one? And that's just kind of how the story arcs got fleshed together, was these what ifs.
Okay.
That's very cool. You guys are having a hell of a convention season. Minnesota, Chicago, and Dubai. Tell us about the Kill Shakespeare Roadshow and the people you've met on your travels.
Oh man, who have you met on your travel? Anybody interesting that you want to...
Probably 1 million people. Yeah, no. That's a tough question. Not last year, but the year before, I met all the guys that were in Expendables, and I realized I'm taller than all of them, including Dolph Lundgren.
Seriously?
Yes, I am taller than the giant Russian in Rocky IV.
He must break you.
Yeah, no, he couldn't break me. He's a lot smaller than I was. I was excited. I was looking down at Dolph Lundgren.
Have you ever seen that Dolph Lundgren variety show clip from that?
Of course, where he does kung fu and then he plays the drums and then answers some math questions or something.
Yeah, it's like the single greatest moment in humanity. This is why we were bred for that moment.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Now it's all just in decline.
That was kind of cool. I met people from Sons of Anarchy last San Diego Con. That was kind of neat. But just the people you meet at the con, other creators, is a lot of fun. Networking is great.
You can't see this at home, but Andy Belanger actually sports a beard that would fit very well with Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
In fact, you may have that may be the new name for your beard for me. I'm going to call it Anarchy. I'm just going to call it the Anarchy, which works on so many levels.
Ron Perlman was signing not too long ago over there. Yeah. We should go introduce your beard to Ron Perlman.
Have you met my beard?
Yeah.
Have you met Anarchy?
He likes you a lot.
But not in a sexual way, Ron. Not that, unless you're into that, because
that's a bro way.
My beard could swing both ways.
Yeah, we got some other shows this year. I'm going to be going to the Singapore Comic Con this year.
Very cool.
We're going to do Ireland, England again, and then we're going to probably tour up through Scotland. What other shows am I doing? Any Heroes?
Yeah,
in
we're
North
going to be in Heroes
Carolina?
together. We've got ALA. We're going to the American Library Association show in Chicago, so we'll be back in the Windy City. We're going to be going to
TCAF in Toronto.
Toronto, Ottawa, and then in the fall you've got New York, Miami, Decatur, Kamikaze in LA, Decatur. Decatur, I hardly knew her, but I'm here all week. Enjoy the meal. I don't even know what that would mean. I don't even know if that's vaguely slutty or what it is. I don't feel
that's
dirty.
weird.
I feel like decanting. It feels like I aerated
you have
somebody.
a
Yeah, that's wow. It's got very boxing Helena very quickly. So yeah, I think we've got 17 or 18 cons plus yours. So probably some member of the Kill Shakespeare team will probably be at well over 20 cons this year.
Yeah, it might have been even more last year.
Yeah, we're the hardest working act in comicdom.
Yeah.
How did you guys get involved in these international shows? I mean, I had no idea that comics were even a thing in Dubai, nonetheless Singapore or anything.
Well, Dubai is the people. There's a couple guys who run for a business. They do shows. They do mostly car shows. They're both comic geeks. They always said, and they knew other comic geeks, and they said, I know people would want to do this. And a couple of years ago, just as the Arab Spring happened, that was supposed to be the first year. And it fell apart because of that. So they wanted to do it the next year, but some of the creators they wanted to invite got a little cold feet, and so they started saying, well, who else could we bring? And a friend of ours, this guy Sohaib Awan, who does a book on IDW as well called Gin Rise, was helping them out. He's from the region originally, and so he was trying to get people to go to the show, and he said, hey, would you guys, if we flew to Dubai, would you go? We're like, yeah. So we got invited to the first show. It was great. It was about 12,000 people over the weekend.
Connor got to hang out with Khal Drogo. I was so upset I didn't go to that.
Jason Momoa. So Jason Momoa plays Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
He was also Conan.
Yeah.
He grinded with me. We had a moment.
Hot.
His junk and my bum know each other.
Really hot.
It was really hot.
Scorching.
Yeah. My wife was. She thought she might lose me there. Actually,
Probably should have.
Probably she should have. He also threw another guest over his shoulder, yelling, "Conan says, come here!" Because she was drunk and running in a million different directions. It was awesome. It was great. Yeah, the memories. Woo. Yeah, and so they did the show, and they asked us last year. We brought the Kill Shakespeare stage show to Dubai. They asked us, so the theater company and the convention kind of combined to bring us out this year. So, and it's really cool. Actually, it's a really neat show. You never ever think of like the Arab geek culture. We don't talk about that, but the good folks there are as geeky as anywhere else. They love their comics and their anime and their metal. Like, it's really cool, and it's great because they don't get a lot of exposure to it. So they're just super excited that you're there to like just geek out with them. It's really cool. Andy would love it. They love metal there. Metal and Japanese anime. They love it. Yeah.
Okay. How did the Kill Shakespeare crew meet originally?
We were looking for an artist, and you asked our studio.
Yeah,
I was part of a studio in Toronto called the Rain Studio, and there's like 6 or 7 comic artists all working professionally in there. So I think that you guys just emailed Cameron, and he handed it over to me, and I took a meeting with them and thought it was a good idea.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I don't know how you met Anthony.
We went to the same university, actually. Didn't know each other. My friend from high school's younger brother knew Anthony.
Okay.
So that's how we got connected. I'm trying to remember who put us in contact with you guys first. Oh, it was a Canadian screenwriter and TV show showrunner who did a lot of genre stuff, and he knew some of the guys in the Jeremy Boxon was his name, and he knew some of the guys at Raid, and was like, you guys have to meet him. Our first meeting with Andy, he's like, well, I really like horror stuff, like, I love Macbeth, so is Macbeth going to be in this comic? And we're like, yeah, Macbeth is going to be a big part. And he's like, pounds the table, he's like, all right, I'm in. And we're like, wow, I guess you just decided that we're working together. And that's how Andy rolls. It's all boom.
Yeah. Let's put my foot down and say this is going to happen.
And it did.
Thank you.
And the rest has been mostly happily ever after.
Mostly.
So, many creative folk wrestle with balancing their craft with the dreaded day job. According to the bio on your website, you guys have crazy cool day jobs. Tell us about them and how you get the comic out on time and still manage to be gainfully employed?
This is our job.
Yeah, actually, we don't have day jobs.
We don't have day jobs.
We used to have day jobs, but we quit them to do comics. So we're now much
I used to be a meter reader. I would run around and read your hydrometers. That was actually a really fun job. It's
I
like
thought you were joking.
No. It's like being Indiana Jones. It's really cool. So, but you would work from 6 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, and then I come home and do my comics. But that was like, I think 7-8 years ago. So I've been doing this since I was about 26, 27. I've been full time. But it's one of those things that when you want to do what you love, you have to jump off a cliff and see if you can swim. And you do what you have to do to survive and make ends meet and pay your bills. But it becomes a question of, do you want to work a day job doing something you don't want to do, or do you want to do what you want to do?
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to do it. And guess what? You're not going to make a lot of money. Like my first couple of years, I made like maybe 11, 12 grand sort of thing. It's like nothing, but you learn to survive. You make, and you do like odd jobs here and there, and it's fine. But I mean, I haven't had any sort of like day laborer job in probably about 6 years, something like that.
And now your significant other is also in comics.
Yes. So now it's a double whammy. So if one of us is having kind of like a slow month or two, it's like the other one's working. So it's fine. But I find because we're both comic artists, there's a lot of energy there, and a lot of people know our work, so they know that if they come to us, they're going to get a good comic.
Nice.
So I think that's sort of a thing. And we're part of a really great studio in Montreal now. She was from Brooklyn, I was from Toronto, and we moved to Montreal, and we're in a pretty awesome studio doing lots of video game stuff and comics. And yeah, it's great.
Girl from Brooklyn, guy from Toronto, end up making comics in Montreal.
Yeah.
It's actually almost cliche.
It's totally cliche. Apart from the murder.
Connor, what was your day job?
I had a couple of day jobs, but most recently I was a broadcast journalist. So I actually worked, my major in university was business. So after I graduated, I worked in some film and television for a while, and then I got into journalism. So I worked at a Business News Network, which is kind of the Canadian CNBC. So while we were raising money to do this project, was right in 2008 when markets crashed. So by day I'm writing articles like, take your money to the bank, stuff it in a mattress, shoot your neighbor, like, he might be looking at your money, kill him, take his wife. And then at night, I'm like calling up people going, we need $25,000 for our comic book. Hello? Oh, are you going through a tunnel? Hello? So that was awkward. But eventually we persevered. But yeah, and I worked as a journalist in Africa for a while. So that kind of taught me a little bit about, sort of factual reporting, but also like writing more concisely as opposed to say how we're conducting this interview. And yeah, this was a really interesting. It's not journalism is weird because it's sort of this dying world, and so in some ways jumping to comics wasn't just something I really wanted to do. It was actually a smarter career move because the journalism world is sort of dying and really going through a lot of changes, but it was a great help. But yeah, about 2.5 years ago we made this full-time work.
That's fantastic. What will you guys be tackling next in comics? Is there a super secret project on the horizon?
Always millions of them.
Well, now they're not so super secret because now they know how many.
No, I didn't mention any. I just said there's always super secret projects that either never get made, or kind of get made, or started to get made, or totally get made. It's kind of all over the board.
Andy and I have chatted about there's a couple things we'd like to do in the future together. Anthony and I actually just finished co-writing a draft for one of the big comic companies that's to do an inventory issue for one of their titles. So who knows it'll ever see the light of day. An inventory issue. Comics definition brought to you by Crime Spree Magazine. So, an inventory issue. An inventory issue is known as a one-shot or a one-off as well. It is an issue where the continuity does not matter, and the hero in the issue goes on a self-contained adventure that is only in that one issue. Therefore, said inventory issue can be inserted at any point that the regular series artist or writer are unable to complete their current run due to sickness, slowness, drunkenness, or Metallica. This has been a comics definition.
Did you say we're Metallica? Nice.
Yeah, what else would really slow you down, right?
Yeah.
So we've been offered to do an inventory issue, so you never know if that's actually going to come out. So we've done a draft, so that was kind of cool.
Okay.
I haven't worked in 3 weeks because I was listening to Metallica.
Well, with you, that's actually a
That's actually true.
Yeah, Andy, what? Have you been listening to Metallica again? No? You're shouting on the phone again. No, I'm not. Yeah, it's awkward. Yeah, and then there's just a couple of other projects that I've got a couple projects with a couple other writers I know. Anthony has got a couple of neat projects. Actually, one is involving a stage play out of Canada that he's adapting to turn into a feature film. So there's lots of stuff we're working on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. One of our favorite panels at FablesCon dealt heavily with print versus digital. How do you guys see this shaking out in the coming years?
I think you're going to see a lot of things go digital. You know, it's going to happen to every comic, and it's going to become a staple. As soon as iPads are even more affordable, you can get them for like a couple $100. I think everyone is going to have one and read the regular comics. But what I think that's going to do is also print for comic books will never die. You might not get the floppy issues anymore, the 22-page issues, but you always have the graphic novels. And I think what you're going to see is the production level of the graphic novels go up. So way more hardcore, or like hardcover books will come out, special editions. It's kind of like music right now. If you're a band, how do you make it work, right? If people want to listen to your music, they download it for free, steal from you, you're screwed. What I've noticed is I'm a big record collector, a big vinyl collector now, and a lot of metal bands or bands in general are doing records again, and like brand new records, 78s, and you know, they have full artwork and they're really beautiful, and I think you're going to see comics go the same way. So you're going to read the comic regularly on a iPad or something digital, but after you'll probably buy it in a store, in a bookstore. Yeah.
What's on your to-be-read pile right now, guys? What's your favorite thing to read right now?
I'm reading Jason Aaron's Thor. It's badass. He's a good buddy of mine, and the book is amazing. What else am I reading? Becky's got me reading Young Avengers by Kieran and McKelvey. It's pretty good too. What else am I reading? I read Hellboy because McNolla's doing the writing and art.
Hellboy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Those are like my mainstream titles. I get quite a few mainstream titles in. But then, you know, old heavy metal stuff I always read, anything European, like Italian stuff I'm into. What are you reading?
I was just finished off Curse Pirate Girl by Jeremy Bastian.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing. I think that's such a great graphic novel. I love Lock and Key, Joe Hill at IDW. That's one of those books where every time you read it as a writer, you're like, oh, he's so much better than I am. And he is. Like, Joe Hill's amazing. I'm kind of enjoying Morning Glories. I have no idea if any of these threads will ever actually come together, the image book, but it's pretty interesting. And then, yeah, I like Six Gun, Colin Bunn's book, Brian Hunt. I think that's a really good book. I actually kind of was down on The Walking Dead for a while. It just kind of felt like it was in one of those places where it wasn't going anywhere, but I just read the 16th and 17th trades because I had them forever, and now I'm kind of back on Walking Dead. I'm like, damn you, Kirkman! You sucked me back in, and I'm sure this is kind of going to go the same way everything else is gone, but still, I'm kind of interested. Yeah, and then whatever new stuff I can get my hands on.
So as residents of the great state of Minnesota, we're pretty much Canadians too. Just how good is Tim Hortons coffee? And now that the Leafs have made the playoffs for the first time in 9 years, will they raise the cup in our lifetime?
Never. I'm going to say good and never. Tim Hortons, I find, like, when I started drinking black coffee, Tim Hortons I started drinking again because it was good. But there's something about if you get your cream in your Tim Hortons coffee, expect to be in the bathroom in like half hour. There's something about the cream that it just turns into poison at that point. But it's better than Starbucks because Starbucks is just burnt. Yes. So it's like, as far as the other thing, never gonna happen. Never.
You were a negative-minded individual, sir.
I just know.
I've never actually drank coffee in my life, so I can't comment on Tim Hortons.
That is so
You're
weird.
this animated all the time?
It's true, actually.
Naturally?
Yeah, it's kind of frightening, eh? What are you talking about,
I
eh?
thought that too.
No, yeah, so I can't speak to Tim Hortons. Although my friends who are big coffee fans say Tim Hortons coffee is for crap. So I don't know. It sells like
it's not great. There's a coffee company called Illy. I think you have it in the
Illy's
U.S.
great. Yeah, it's
they have
an
it in
Italian
Brooklyn.
company.
Yeah, they have it in Brooklyn, but you can buy it in the grocery stores in Montreal. Montreal is a big foodie town, so your regular grocery store is like gourmet stuff, and it's expensive. It's like $15 a tin of it, but it is
gourmet coffee you buy with your luxurious artist salary. I bet you don't take lettuce. You have arugula.
Yeah.
You and Obama. How about you elites just kind of keep running the government, man? Oh wait, you do.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Well, good on you. Keep doing it with your arugula.
Anyway,
and the Leafs
Illy's pretty deadly.
may win a cup. It's
Never
possible.
gonna happen.
It's although they did get outshot by Florida 34-17 last night. They won 4-0. So what the fuck point? But maybe not. I hope. That would be really depressing to live an entire life and not have a Leafs Stanley Cup. But yeah, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, in your lifetime, I did it.
Screw you.
So that was a sports break brought to you by Crime Street Magazine. What was your favorite moment in comics writing? The moment that when you read it on the page, Connor, you smiled and said, "That was so cool."
Like our work or just in general?
However you want to take it.
This does not translate.
Probably Transmet. Probably when I got out of comics for a while, because I think I was like a lot of people who was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be reading literature now, and I stopped reading from 14 to early 20s. And then I created a kids TV show with Anthony, and we thought we'd been optioned, and I was like, all right, I got to get a day job because I can't have a career job right now because I'm going to be writing all these episodes. And it never came to be, but I ended up working at the Silver Snail, which is the big comic shop in Toronto, and so they kind of re-educated me, and one of the books they handed me was Transmet. And I can't remember what Transmetropolitan, sorry. I can't remember what issue it was, but it was this great story of this woman who was put in cryogenic container, I guess, freeze, in our time, and pops out in the days of Transmetropolitan. And it was just it was very cleverly written, and it was clearly a critique on immigration without being a slap you in the face. And I just remember thinking, wow, I did not know that comics were doing stuff like this. And at that point, and then for the next 3 years, all I read was comics.
Mr. Belanger?
Sorry, what was the question again?
What's something great that you read when you're like, yes, this is why comics are wonderful?
No, jeez. I have these moments a lot, or at least I used to. Probably more so when I was a kid, but Jim Lee did Punisher War Journal 4 and 5, way the hell back, where he chased Sniper, this bad guy, and those two comics together were the most explosive thing when I was a kid. I love the hell of it. To get super wowed by comics, Charles Burns' Black Hole is, in my opinion, my favorite comic. And that comic I read at a time when I smoked a lot of weed. And I would smoke weed.
That would be a very dangerous combination.
Yeah, I would smoke weed and then start reading, and eventually within 30, 40 pages I get grossed out.
For those
and have to stop.
With Charles Burns' Black Hole, it is hella disturbing. It's a story about
really cool. It's like X-Men if they were real.
It's a story about a sexually transmitted disease that makes kids mutants.
Yeah.
And so all these kids who get the disease go hiding up in the hills, except for some of them who can you might get a small tail, so you can still kind of wander around day to day, but other you have this deformed face.
It's a little more. It's kind of a realistic take on stuff, because when people think, oh, I'm going to have a mutation, I'm going to be awesome, it's no. It's you have a little tail and it's creepy. It's like that. Everything is very subtle and very, very disturbing, and it reminds me a lot of those really uncomfortable situations that you have in high school. So it was and the artwork is phenomenal, just the best. So that book in particular, I was buying that book as a gift for people for years,
and really frightening a lot of these people out of your lives.
Yes, So
his mom still won't call.
Yeah.
You or him?
Oh, she always calls me.
Oh, okay.
But not for anything dirty, because Andy's mom is classy.
Thank you.
Stay classy, Mrs. Belanger.
Anyway.
How about what is the moment for creating comics where you stopped and said, creating comics, this is the greatest thing ever?
Well, I'm like one of those guys that, kind of like Johnny Depp has never seen any of his movies. It's like every time I see one of my comic books in print, I like hate it. But I gotta say, like the first 2 issues of our new series, I was pretty proud of. I liked it. I was happy with both of them, like pretty happy. We have a new colorist that I really love, and I think my art's gotten a lot better from the first 2 trades. And I'm starting to do a lot more illustration on the side too, that does, for bands and stuff. That's a lot of fun. So I think in the last year since I moved to Montreal, I've been really happy with where my art has been going. Yeah.
There's a scene in issue 2 of Kill Shakespeare that Anthony kind of was the lead writer in issue 2, and there's a scene between Romeo and Juliet that I was like, wow, that really worked incredibly well. I was like, that's kind of magical, and so that's probably where like something that I had at least something to do with, where I was like, wow, that's brilliant. So.
And our final wrap-up question is kind of a standard piece whenever Kate and I do an interview. It's our Beatles versus Rolling Stones question, our Superman versus Batman question. Who do you pick?
Well, you never go... I don't normally go Beatles, Rolling Stone. Normally it's Beatles, Elvis. And I'm an Elvis man. But in my household growing up, you were either a Beatles fan or a Pink Floyd fan. And I was a Pink Floyd fan. I would pick the Stones over the Beatles. However, the White Album is amazing. The White Album is like beyond amazing. And, my whole life I've been a gigantic Batman fan. But I gotta say, over the last couple of years with all the movies and everything, I think he's just a dark whiner, and I'm just not interested in anything Batman does. It's always the same dark, gritty, blah. I don't care anymore, and I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older or what, but Superman's like a symbol of goodness, and it's like I feel like every comic book is Batman right now. Everyone is an anti-hero, everyone is dark, everyone is shitty, and it's like I think happy-go-lucky Superman is kind of like I'm getting more into it. I'm not sure about the movie coming out, but I like the idea of Superman. Now, I used to hate him, but now I'm kind of like, I'm warming up to Superman as opposed to Batman.
Any Connor?
Beatles, all day, every day, and Spider-Man. That's right. It is always an option. You can pick Spider-Man.
I would have picked other people than Batman.
But it's Spider-Man.
No, it's not.
So
Yes.
why Spider-Man?
Because Spider-Man is everything that Andy was talking about, right? Spider-Man is, he's a great hero. He gets, there is, pathos and issues for Spider-Man, but he's fun. Spider-Man, loves being a hero. This is the one problem I have with a lot of DC characters.
Batman and Robin? That's my Batman and Robin right there.
With glasses?
Yeah, the Adam
And
West.
with a punch?
The Adam West Batman and Robin. That's Batman and Robin for me. That's Batman, and it was when I was a kid, and it will always be.
That's fair. I respect that.
Christian Bale is too.
Spider-Man enjoys being a hero. This is my problem with DC heroes. Most DC heroes do not have a moment where you're like, it must be amazing to fly. It's like this crazy burden. Spider-Man loves being a hero. He wins.
There you go.
QED.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, that was our wrap-up. That was our wrap-up question. I want to thank the Kill Shakespeare crew here at C2E2 in Chicago. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
You're welcome.
And everybody listening to the podcast needs to come out and check out Kill Shakespeare.
Good luck cutting that down to 10 minutes.